Ozark Trail, FS.2 Slalom. If you watch this channel, you know about this bike already. And by the way, what are we going to call this? Are we going to go Slalom, FS2, FS.2? Comment below with what you think. This bike already making a big impression, out of the box, trail capable, under $500, at least at the time I'm making this video. A very good bike, some unique quirks about it. But today we're going to talk about upgrades. You can probably see I've made a couple already. I'm not going to go over those so much today, as I am the first upgrade I think anyone needs to make to this bike if they actually get it out on trails like it is intended, like it is built to do. Now let me say, if you're the type person that bought this because you think it looks cool, and that's fine, because it definitely looks cool. But if you're going to ride this around your neighborhood, don't worry about any upgrades. Ride it as is, only replace parts as you need to. But for everyone else, the riders here, they're going to get this out on the trail. There are upgrades you will need to make. One in particular that I'm going to say is the most important upgrade, the thing to do first and foremost, and that's down here. I've already made it, and you can see, upgrade the pedals. And why, you might ask, would I upgrade the pedals first before anything else? Because clearly, put a new shock, I've put new tires on this. Well, those were actually because I'm testing things, testing fitment and testing ranges. And boy, is there some interesting stuff that's going to be coming out about this. So stay tuned for that. Definitely want to make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell set for that. But for base riding, and just getting this out on a trail, the factory pedals are, well, they're plastic. They're slippery. I'm pretty sure that's just a shaft running through plastic here. They're going to wear out fast. And that's not anything wrong. Entry-level mountain bikes, you can spend $600, $700, $800, $900, and you're still going to get just cheap little entry pedals, starter pedals. They're made to be replaced. But the problem with these for trail riding, putting the trail in Ozark Trail, these are slippery. They don't really have pegs. They just have these little things. And these are slippery, and not only that, but they're narrow. Look at this. I've got this Ozark Trail pedal, and there's a good finger width on both sides, and they're a little bit deeper. If I seat these about where they would sit, look at that. There is some extra depth there. That comes into play with this big swing out for this Boost 148 back in, where I said in my original video, my heels were rubbing. Can this stop that with the wider pedal? As for why I went with these pedals, Ozark Trail, it just seems right to buy these pedals, and they're very, very affordable. These are only $14.96 or 98 cents, so I'm just going to round it up and say 15 bucks for alloy pedals. These aren't cheap. These aren't like these little starter pedals, the little plastic. They are alloy pedals. They have, I mean, look at that, pronounced pegs. And these pegs are what's going to grip. That's what's going to keep your feet from sliding around like they do on these. Just read off the card here for you. Aluminum frame, we just talked about that. 9/16 of an inch thread pattern. That means they're going to fit practically every mountain bike crank. They have anti-skid pins. We just talked about those. And look at these. I mean, I like this solid design. These are nice. Now, they don't come with extra pins. Some pedals do. These do not, so note that. But again, 15 bucks. So I guess there's that. And the stable wide platform, we just talked about that. That's what's making this better for me, and I think it's going to make it better for anyone that buys them as well. And sealed bearings, that's a big deal. Sealed bearings in here. Matter of fact, you can even see, look at that rubber seal, a dirt seal there. I have tested these. I've been running these on one bike for a little bit. Admittedly, I haven't ridden it as much as I should at this point. And by the way, these will free up. Any of these, look at that, just spinning right now, they're already freeing up. I literally put these on right before I rode up the trail, and I have just ridden up the trail with them on this bike. But I do have them on another bike, and they've been working out quite well and are comparable to pedals that cost more. These are Fukers. If you watch this channel for years, I have been using Fuker pedals, and these are kind of a copy of Raceface Chesters, or a similar design to Raceface Chesters. And look at that little peg there. You can see they have kind of the threads on them because they screw in and thread in on these little nuts, where this has a hex pin that goes all the way through and shows no threads on this. That means they're going to collect less dirt over time. But these kind of a go-to for many people, these and Raceface Chesters. Very similar, aside from the fact the alloy versus the polymer. And let me tell you, there is a difference between polymer pedals and just these little cheap plastic pedals. As a matter of fact, I typically prefer polymer pedals over aluminum because they're a little more forgiving on my shins. But for $15 and being able to get these at practically every Walmart store, that's a big thing. And again, just Ozark Trail, it just seems right to have a ready-made pedal for the bike that you just bought from Walmart, and they happen to be decent pedals. And that makes them a good and a necessary first upgrade if you are going to take your Ozark Trail bike or any other mountain bike out to a mountain bike trail and you have the factory equipped plastic pedals. I'll edit in some footage here and tell you that when you saw this in the original review, the first little hop that I had taken on this bike, I actually slightly slipped my foot on the plastic pedals. Not enough to cause any problem, but enough to definitely let me know that I needed something with mountain bike pegs, something that my feet would really grip onto the pedal with. And that's how it ended here with Ozark Trail as the pedals for this bike. At least the first pedals, and I think they're really good first pedals to be buying. You're not breaking the bank with them, 15 bucks. There are a couple of downsides though. I've already mentioned this aluminum housing versus a polymer housing being less forgiving to the human body, but also these weigh just a little more, and you know, every ounce is precious in mountain bike dome, and that's the first necessary upgrade for the Ozark Trail FS.2 Slalom. I've made a couple of other upgrades, and those will be their own videos. For instance, I went with an air shock here, and it's not just any air shock. This is 190 millimeters eye to eye and 50 millimeters of travel. The factory shock on this, 185 by 48. And why did I do that? One of my other videos where I showed the geometry specs, the official geometry specs for this bike, I mentioned that the claim is 120 millimeters of rear travel. And if you watched that video, and I hope you did, you'll know I put an asterisk there because I have questions. In my testing, I'm just not getting that. Before I get into my measurements that I'm getting on that, I have Walmart checking with their engineers to give me some clarity. I'm a languages person, not a math person, so maybe there's something I'm missing, but I'm not getting 120 millimeters of travel, way less with the factory shock. So I put this one on, this 190 eye to eye, and gained a little bit of rear travel, but still not enough to get me up to their claim. So we'll see about that. And another upgrade that you'll see here is these tires. A lot of people want to know if a 2.6 will fit. Well, these Goodyears are in fact 29 by 2.6. Now they don't have the deepest profile tread here. So if you have something like a Maxxis Minion, these top treads that roll over towards the side on a Minion will poke up a little more, but you can look at the spacing here. And down here at the bottom, a little spacing too. Show you the other side here. You know, it's always a little tighter on this side because of the way chains and all that work and chain stays work out. So this is the tight side, and with these tires, that's enough. Let me see if I can do this on camera, because there's a thing called frame flex, and if I flex the living daylights out of this, I'm pushing about as hard as I can, but I've pushed as literally hard as I can on this, and there is no contact there at all. But if I had something like a Minion that had slightly higher treads here, that would get probably concerning. So I'm gonna say 2.6 is doable, but probably not every 2.6. 2.5, I think you're gonna be pretty safe as far as my testing so far goes. But that's a couple of upgrades that I've made. One because I'm just testing, and well, another that started out as just testing. And I think I was baited. I was baited. The bike shop was all too willing to let me come down and play around with different tire sizes. Now, they were being really nice. They let me use some of their takeoff tires to test to see what would fit here. And then the bike shop manager said, hey, I've got a 2.6 I think is gonna work on this. At first I said, no way. We put it on, and not only did it work, they made me a deal on these, because if you know anything about Goodyear tires, they're good tires, but they're heavy. They made me a deal on them, 25 bucks each. I couldn't pass it up. And now I have 2.6 Goodyear tires on this bike. And I think it's gonna work. It's gonna be better than the factory Kendas, which aren't really bad. They're just what they are. Now, byproduct of these tires, that's a lot taller than the Kendas, and that raises things up even more. And you know, I've talked about the geometry of this bike. It's pretty good. A very slack head tube angle, people are happy with that. But I've mentioned that the fitment's just a little weird mismatch. I mean, the seat tube won't go down very far because of the curve. That's gonna create something with the drop. Oh, you know, I can talk about that in this video. Let's go ahead and tell you the dropper. Don't order a dropper and just assume, and I've told you in my geospecs video, don't just go in thinking, hey, I ride a medium frame, so the medium frame on this will fit me perfectly. A little unique. You need to go look at those measurements and start measuring around and seeing if it's gonna fit you, what size. Because I normally ride a medium, and this is only a 16-inch frame, but it feels more like a 19-inch frame for me, except for the reach, which feels smaller than I'm used to. Of course, part of that's the head tube angle and the way all this works out. And know that mountain bike knobbies that most people are probably gonna upgrade to are gonna raise it up just a little bit more. And because this seat post, just see that leaf interrupting the footage here, and because this seat, so there's my height. That's it. That's as low as I can slam this down. And I'll tell you, from the ground to here is now 29.5 inches because of these tires being taller than the Kendas. And 29.5 inches is the claimed official standover for this bike. But I'm telling you that the standover is actually going to be 31 inches. Well, now I can make that 32.5 just because of these tires. And that changes things, starts making it way tighter and making it feel like a larger frame than it is, at least in that respect. You know, I don't do recommendations. I just share my thoughts and my opinions. But I'll tell you, I would recommend that if someone's going to get an Ozark Trail Slalom out onto the trail, that they change the pedals out from those factory pedals. So that's a firm recommendation from me. And I think these Ozark Trails are a pretty good choice for not a lot of coin if you're fighting with the budget, if that's your thing. If not, the sky's the limit pedal-wise. Put your favorite pedals, and if you already have a favorite pedal, you will know that everything I'm saying doesn't apply to you because you already know. Keep your traction. See, I'm wobbling my foot back and forth and just getting just a little bit of movement. And these are flat bottom shoes practically, also from Walmart. I don't like to mess up my good shoes, and I have a problem with buying $100 plus mountain bike shoes because I am a budget rider. That's why I like Ozark Trail so much. Best bang per buck. But yeah, this is a big difference. My foot would literally be coming off of these pedals. As I mentioned, it did on a slight hop, almost completely off. Wouldn't have happened with these pedals. 15 bucks. I'll put a link down in the description. A quick voiceover cut in here because Apple problems. I'm going to be making some tough decisions when it comes to Apple products here in the near future. But let me just tell you, I went on talking about a dropper post for this bike. I'm going to make that its own video because I don't want to re-record what I just recorded, but also it's very important to note that this bike is not like, just like the sizing, not like the normal medium. It's not the same dropper size, at least depth of the dropper. You have to be careful with that, so don't just rush out and buy a dropper, at least based on what you would normally expect, sizing-wise, for a bike with a medium frame or a large frame or whatever frame you choose. It's unique because of the curve of the seat tube and the depth again. So I'll make a video about that. For now, just know the first upgrade that is important on this bike if you're going to ride it on trails is the pedals. That was the main topic, but in this video, you also got some bonus stuff. Tire sizing, and to know that there's some more information coming up about the suspension system and the travel and what shocks might work on this. More information for you based on my experience with the FS.2 Slalom from Ozark Trail. Comment below. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.